Welcome to JasonWhiskyWise, and myself, Jason, bringing you whiskey review number 103, part of my Johnnie Walker range worth of whiskies, which I'll be reviewing in this series for a few videos, so stay tuned if you like Johnnie Walker. So this video today is going to be on the Johnnie Walker Black Label. Now, if you did miss the past video, I'll leave it linked over here, the Johnnie Walker Red Label. So if you're pretty much trying to decide between the two, these two videos are going to help you out, and I might... Let me know in the comment section. Would you like me to do a comparison between all the Johnnie Walkers? Leave that down below in the comments, and if you guys like to see that, by all means, I'll do that. So leave yes if you want to see a comparative video with all the Johnnie Walkers. So I'll pour myself a dram as I just washed out my glass. We're going to pour ourselves some Johnnie Black. Now this is a staple one from Johnnie Walker, which I probably visit a lot more frequently. I do like this one in the green label, if I'm being a little bit biased, but everyone has their favourites. Now it is a blended Scotch whiskey, which means it contains malt whiskey, single malt, and single grain whiskey, sorry. And single malt and single grain are blended together and they give you a blended whiskey. So the Johnnie Walker Black Label is, in terms of my review style structure, is a 12-year-old whiskey bottled at an ABV of 40%. The company that owns it are Diageo. And the price on this bottle over here is £30 for this bottle. So I think I paid $28.95 for this one. So just rounding up 30 to it's sort of $30 pounds euros as a rough estimate. Now in terms of exclusivity, no, it is not exclusive. It is available globally and in supermarkets, off licenses. It's available almost everywhere. So in terms of, to begin the review, we don't assess the colour because it is a blend and it contains so many different whiskies. It'd be very difficult to pinpoint. Now I believe the Johnnie Walker Black Label does contain, it doesn't say it over here, but I think it contains between, 28 to 40 different whiskies in this blend. So it's rather unique as it contains so many, and blended whiskies can do this, but this one contains a lot. And to defile each Diageo distillery would be very, very difficult. But that's one thing. Training your palate to understand different flavors can get you to assess it more adequately. So let's begin by assessing the nose of this whiskey. So into the nose. So similar to the actual Red Label, that distinctive sort of briny aspect is really coming into play right now, and I'm getting that straight away up front on the nose. More than that, it's like a spice palette. This has got lots of spices. Instantly, aniseed comes to mind, red pepper, clove. This is like almost like you're taking a cooking spice tray. And this is one thing I do recommend. If you guys are trying to develop your palate, and I've done this recently, go and buy lots of different spices, and put them on a palette, and just pick up some, put it to your nose, and try getting those flavors. Because whiskey is all about understanding your experiences with different flavors and associating them to what you recognize in the glass. So I'm definitely getting those different mix of spices on this one. There is a slight minerally note. In terms of that, I'd say probably like a sort of sea salt, but a coarse salt. There is a slight even muskiness. That's almost like a damp warehouse. That, you know, if you've ever been to a whiskey warehouse or a distillery, you go to the dunnages and you go and just visit the area and you get that sort of musky atmosphere. That's really distinctive on this one's nose. Even an aspect of even old books, which I normally get in 30-year-old whiskies, which is rather interesting. There's even a slight smoky aspect, and the smoky aspect is very different from the peaty aspect you get in some whiskies. This one actually is very sort of, in my mind, like if you've taken a match, you've lit it on fire, and then you've blown it out. And that sort of smell from the smoke that sort of resides just coming out from the match, that's exactly a mixture of the chemicals and the wood that have just been burnt. And a little note on the end, which is sweet, and it's like a black cherry. Let's move into the palate next. So another one I was going to ask for this video. What's your favourite Johnnie Walker? In terms of what's your favourite label from the Johnnie Walker range? I will have all of them on the table, and I'll do a comparative video if you guys like to see that. But let me know your favourite Johnnie Walker. But overall for this one, the palate starts out quite nice, light. It develops ever so slightly. It's got a bit more texture than the Red Label. This one's got, I'd say, a light medium texture. aspects of like almost like a cinnamon bun. If you've ever been to a bakery and you've tried one of those pastries, a cinnamon bun glazed with icing, cinnamon on the top. This is like they've almost taken extra cinnamon and just dumped it on the top of it, and this is cinnamon powder. So it's got that nice sort of warming spice of cinnamon, but a nice sweetness coming through and complementing those flavors. Freshly peated barley. If you ever tried sort of smelling peated barley or just taking it, and almost like, I did this at Cavalan's distillery when I was in Taiwan. We went and put a hand in the barley, and they peated barley and non-peated barley. And what they did, we put in a few grains and you just tried chewing on them. And that sort of aspect of freshly peated barley instantly comes to mind, an experience I really treasure a lot when I went to Cavalan. The sweetness now comes back, and this is like a bitter sweet. This is like licorice. And as I'm rolling it there in the palate, a slight herbal note emerges. I'd say a herbal peaty aspect, a herbal peaty note. There is those little fruits that are actually on the palate for this one, and a little bit of oak, but it's not so intense. The main flavors I outlined in the beginning are the ones that stand out the most to me. Those fruity aspects and the slight oaky character is there in the background, but not making so much of an influential factor in sort of the tasting notes on the nose and on the palate. So that about concludes the palate for this one. Let's move into the finish of the whiskey. So, into the finish. So the finish for the Johnnie Walker Black Label, 12-year-old. It's got that nice peaty aspect on the finish of this one, but it's combined and it's wrapped together with a nice sort of chewy, sweet fudge. Cubes of fudge. Offering that peaty aspect but a sweet aspect combined together. The sweetness does then emerge out of that one, giving a slight fruitiness as it then ends on a slight dry aspect. But the medium sort of finish, I'd say, remains rather consistent. It doesn't sort of drop off like this. It remains. It holds out. It's quite well balanced, this one. So in order of my comments and overall rating, some of you have probably been straight away waiting for the rating from the word go. I'm going to give this one here an 86. In terms of Johnnie Walker producing a blended whiskey, the Black Label for me is just, it's on the mark. In terms of value for money, around about £30, I would happily pay that. For that aspect, does it need time? I would give it a little time. Let it breathe. It's 12 years old at the end of the day. It's not very young. Does it need water? You can do, but I drank that one completely neat, and it will differ. It will probably be much more softer, easier, and open up more with some water, so water is optional. Does it have sort of that complexity and the consistency? Consistency, yes. It's a little bit richer, but it's nowhere near as thick and rich as consistent as some whiskies can be. But complexity, it has that. And it has a little bit more than the Red Label does offer, and that's a bit more texture and a bit more of those sort of rounded flavors. The Red Label feels like it's almost sharp, it's spiky around the edges. This one is a rounded version, and those 12 years secure that very well. So on that note, 86 out of 100. Let me know your thoughts on the Johnnie Walker Black Label down below in the comment section. But on that note, if you have enjoyed the video, feel free to drop it a like. Feel free also to subscribe. It is a free thing to do. And also check out some of my latest videos here and there. I'll leave Johnnie Walker videos at the end so you can go and check out some more. But on that note, this has been JasonWhiskyWise. This has been Mr. Bananas, who's been rather quiet for the videos, and the Johnnie Walker Black Label review. So on that note, I'll catch you all for the next video. Ta-ja.